We still got a few more coming in and joining, so we're going to give it another minute or so and we'll get started. Okay, it looks like our joining has been stabilized, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome. I'm Chris Jeffords. I'm Senior Vice President of Oxford Computer Group North America. I would like to welcome everyone to today's webinar, Collaborate and Manage External Users with EMS. Today, we'll cover how your users may securely collaborate with suppliers, franchises, other companies, and other external users using Microsoft's Enterprise Mobility Suite, also known affectionately to most of us as EMS. So during the course of this webinar, agenda-wise, I will briefly introduce Oxford Computer Group, and at that point I'll turn it over to Mark Reilly, who's an Oxford Computer Group architect who specializes in EMS, and he will demonstrate external user management in Azure Active Directory and provide an overview of the different components of EMS that can help you manage your users. So introduction to Oxford Computer Group. Mark, if you want to advance it. Very good. Thanks. Oxford Computer Group is a systems integrator and educator. We focus specifically on identity and access management solutions within the Microsoft solution stack. So you can see here our primary lines of business. We author and deliver educational services online with the technologies I mentioned there, as well as in the classroom where we've delivered we've educated well over 6,000 students who have benefited from our experience, or benefited from the experience our consultants have learned in the field in integrating a number of projects with these technologies. We also provide consultative envisioning, which helps organizations realize a comprehensive identity and access management strategy, along with the benefits of that strategy and a path and plan to take that forward. And then finally, we execute the integration projects that result from those strategies and plans, and we've done this in well over 600 enterprise-wide deployment projects. And within this space, we provide professional as well as managed services where we've maintained and supported infrastructure that we've integrated for clients and educated them along that path. And then within that, we've developed a number of software products that really become the secret sauce on how we effectively and efficiently integrate these technologies. Oxford Computer Group specializes in directory and federation, identity management and roles-based access control, directory consolidation. You can see across the bottom here, strong auth, device management, data protection. The products we specialize in this area are Microsoft Active Directory Federation Services, Forefront Identity Manager, including the Behold suite, System Center as it relates to identity and device management, Active Directory Rights Management Service, along with the other products that Microsoft has bundled in the Enterprise Mobility Suite that include Azure Active Directory Premium, Intune, Azure MFA, multi-factor authentication, and Azure Rights Management. You can also see along the bottom there's a little bit of white space around these solutions, and we partner with a number of companies in that ecosystem that augment the Microsoft products that we integrate. These products include StealthBits, Optimal IDM, Gemalto, HID, and Titus, to name a few. Okay, next slide. All right, and before I turn it over, I would like to bring your attention, or draw your attention to the upcoming Redmond Summit that many of you are aware of. At this summit, you can meet with the best and brightest in this space and get the latest information on the evolution of many of these technologies I mentioned as they undergo this amazing transformation that's ahead of us all. The summit is on the Microsoft campus in Redmond, Washington, January 27th through the 29th of next year, and you get $150 off by registering prior to November 1st. In fact, I'll call out that seats are limited and they're going quickly. So to register, go to our website at oxfordcomputergroup.com, navigate to events, and use the coupon code SUMMIT15A to check out and to receive the discount. Next slide. There we go. All right. Now, without further delay, I'd like to introduce Mark Reilly. Mark is an architect at Oxford Computer Group, and he specializes in device management and EMS. So, welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Chris. And yeah, we're going to take a look at how we can manage external users, do a little bit of background on Azure AD Premium, some of the features in there that enable us to work better with identities, and what some of the goals around these features are. There we go. This slide, I'm sure some of you have seen this slide. This is the PCIT slide from Microsoft. And a lot of what EMS is built around is this concept of users wanting to be able to work in any location, on any device, deployed with managed applications across platforms, and protecting that data. Where we're really focusing here today is with users, and we'll also dip a little bit into the SaaS apps, software as a service applications, and how we can provision those for users. When we talk about Azure AD and Azure AD Premium, we're really looking at a hybrid identity now. The goal being to create this centralized identity that exists both on-premise and in the cloud as we move more and more of our work streams to the cloud and need to have users who are provisioned there. We also want to enable users by giving them self-service experiences, and this is one of the places we're really going to focus on today, is looking at some of the newer self-service features that allow us to give capabilities to users without having to impact IT as much. So being able to allow users to do password resets, to join and manage groups directly in Azure without having to go through global administrators, and be able to gain access through applications and other services based on that user principal and the group membership as well. As a result of that, we provide strong authentication, conditional access. Those are really outside of the scope of today, but we do talk about these in other series that we present, including rights management, multi-factor authentication, and each of those things. So really the base of this for identity, to get a common identity in the cloud and on-prem, is to use sync. And there's two ways that we can approach this. Doing an identity sync with password hash sync to the cloud. So this is taking the hash of your password, hashing it again, delivering that to Azure in the cloud, where that hash is used to validate your password directly in Azure. This benefits you by not having to run as much infrastructure on your environment, and allows all of those authentications to occur either on-prem or in the cloud. Currently, password updates are done on-prem and synced to the cloud. Coming very soon is the ability for directory synchronization to do two-way sync, to be able to take the update, the password update in the cloud, and share that back with the directory on-prem. The expectation is this will work with or without the synchronization of the password to the cloud. So it still allows us to do the password management in the cloud, even if we don't own the password up there, but are doing it through the second method here, which is federation. And federation, we sync the identity, some information, it's a reduced set of information from the on-prem Windows Server AD. Normally we refer to that as Windows Server AD to differentiate from Azure AD. A limited set of attributes from that identity to the cloud, but the password is not synced. Then Active Directory Federation services are deployed on-prem and also made available to the Internet through Active Directory Federation services proxies, which allow us to do this conditional access as a claims-based access model. but authenticating back to your directory services on-prem. That way your password hash is never leaving your premises. So two methods that we can use. Both of these will support password management or password reset in the cloud soon. The testing is ongoing with write back of attributes. We do already write back some attributes with DirSync when we're in a hybrid identity model, but for most identity management we don't write back any attributes yet. So this is a coming feature. We'll take a little bit of a look at password reset, and you'll be able to imagine how that functions. So Azure Active Directory Premium is built on top of the Azure free offering. So Azure Active Directory provides a directory at no charge for up to 500,000 objects. But Active Directory Premium, or AD Premium, builds on top of that, adding the ability to do advanced management with users, to have additional features, including the ability to monitor logons and report on suspicious logons, whether they originate from unusual geographic dispersion. So if I log on in one area and 2 hours later I log on to someplace that's 1,000 miles away, machine learning within Azure will recognize that, log that as a potential violation, and you can then report on those to determine if you have issues with those, and can potentially change the claims you're requiring for these users to log on. Maybe require multi-factor authentication within this, maybe provide some other step-up auth that you want to manage for these users. Additionally, Azure AD Premium offers an SLA, 99.9% uptime, and also usage rights to the Forefront Identity Manager server and CALs, which, as we're moving towards the cloud, provides us a mechanism to be able to do these self-service features on-prem until we're ready to move them onto the cloud. So this is all wrapped together in this EMS offering that Microsoft currently has. So as I said, syncing the directory on the cloud, we take our Windows Server directory and potentially other directories using FIM, manage those users, move them up, move the identity up into the cloud, which gives us access to, this is a slightly dated slide, it says over 1,200 pre-integrated popular SaaS apps. There's over 1,700 the last time I looked. We'll take a look today. It's probably over 1,800 at this point. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump ahead on that slide. So this allows us to provide access to users, and we'll take a look at this setting up a SaaS application so users in various forms can get access to these services. And as I said, we really want to drive a lot of this to self-service so that users can manage their own identity and their services within Azure. There is an asterisk here because some of these cloud services are just beginning to roll out. Some are not quite complete yet, but we'll see those as we go through the demo here shortly. Password change and reset for cloud users, so be able to manage that in the cloud. And as you'll see, we're able to layer on top of that some security, additional security for password management, so that we verify that the user resetting the password is the proper user, not something as simple as an email or other out-of-band mechanism. Users will be able to edit their profile details, add and update missing information, configure information such as phone numbers and alternate email addresses to help support things such as the password reset. Manage access requests. We'll take a look at this today. Self-service group management. We now have the ability to easily provide for self-service group management. That is, being able to request access to a group. If I set a group to be able to immediately allow access for a user, then that user is instantly granted access. I can also manage that by requiring an approval by the group owner. So these are some things that have been in various products, including in the FIM portal from Microsoft, that are now being implemented in the cloud. And then through the app gallery in the My Apps portal for users. Users are able to access SaaS applications using those Active Directory credentials. So again, the goal here is to have a consistent single identity throughout our experience, being able to use that identity to connect to the services we need and also be able to manage that identity in the cloud. So with that, all we have really left here, probably got through the slides a little faster than I expected, but that's never a big problem. I did go through them a little faster than expected. But we're going to take a look at a demo. So let me step out of the slide deck here. And I'm on a Windows Server 2012 R2 VM here in my lab. And I have a number of users in here. I have users in the directory, and I have additional test users in this test domain. So I'm going to go ahead and just create a new user in my on-prem Windows Server Active Directory. So I'll just select a new user. I'm going to call this user a demo user because that's what we're doing. That's what we're demoing. So I'll call it demo user 01 and demo user 01. I'm going to change it to my outside domain. Create a password for the user. Hopefully I get that right. And no need to set any other changes for that. I'll go ahead and create that user. And then I'm going to go ahead and add this user to this WSAD Salesforce group. So this user did not exist before. This group has already been synced up with the cloud, but I have not synced up this user with this cloud, or with this group. So this user has just been created. So now I'm going to step out and actually use DirSync here. DirSync is a modified version of the Microsoft Forefront Identity Manager product. Has the synchronization engine included in it, and normally runs every 3 hours by default. We're not going to want to wait for that 3-hour time, so I'm going to go ahead and force that to start running now. We'll see those get kicked off in a moment. Here we see the different management properties that are running. This should pick up my user and sync them with the cloud. So we'll let that run in the background. I'll go back to my DC where I'm connected to my Azure Active Directory. You see it's named the same. You can see the domains are the same that I've included in there, and some of the same users. If you noticed that I had test users in that in my local domain, you see those test users here. Those test users are also in the groups that have been synced up with that. So we had an MFA users test group, and there's test users in there. All of those were synced previously with this directory, and that is set up through directory integration. You see that it's activated. I have multiple domains in here, and now my sync engine is running and bringing those users up to the directory in the cloud. So you see now I have that demo user 1 has been synced. It shows as coming from my local Active Directory, and I can now authenticate with that user using federation services, authenticating back to the cloud, because I do not use this user. I do not sync passwords. I use federation services. So we come back. The federation services allows me to do the claims-based authentication, to lay multi-factor authentication on top of that, and to perform other actions that allow me to do this conditional access. So based on where a user is originating from, or the device that a user is using, whether that device has been registered or is under management with Intune, all of those things can be taken into consideration when I do authentication with my federation services. So that's the way that I run this. We'll see a federated services log on in here. But now I also want to create a local user. So we'll create a local user that just exists in this domain, in this organization. So I have the choice to create users in the organization, a user with an existing Microsoft account, or another user in a separate Azure AD directory. That could be another directory that I have rights to. I'd be able to add a user, and that user would be able to, in the same way as we'll see with the external user. But what I'll create here is a demo user AD. How about if we do that? I'll leave it with the default domain name on it, create the user, demo user AD, and demo user AD. I'll leave it just as a standard user. You see here I can enable multi-factor authentication for that user because the user is sourced in the cloud. I'm not going to bother doing that here. The user is going to be assigned a temporary password. The password will also get mailed to me. I'll go ahead and create that password and grab it out of there and change it before anybody else has anything to do with it. Now the next user I want to add, let's go ahead and add a user that comes from outside the organization. So this would be the case of a vendor or a partner who has an existing Microsoft account, a Live account or a Hotmail account, whatever that might be. My previous user, the demo user AD user, would be a user that I want to add to my directory, but I don't want to add to my on-prem directory. So there's no distinction when we're using the users up in Azure whether a user comes from the local directory or the Azure directory, except perhaps in the way they might authenticate. So this user, I won't manage this user at all except for giving this user access to it. So I'm going to take my demo account from Hotmail and grant that access to my directory. So it is actually the demo. I've already got about 10 Mark Reillys in that. So we'll go ahead and call that demo Reilly again. And I don't want that to be a global admin. We'll just make them a user so we're not doing anything special. One of the nice things is being able to add those users as global admins gives them access to the entire directory. Again, you could do this with vendors or people who are doing work for you that you need to give access. And in some cases, particularly now, global admins are required for a fair amount of the work in Azure AD. So now we have those users. We want to place them in some groups, be able to manage them. We saw that the user that I created on-prem should have been pushed up to this group. I don't see my group here, sorry. Did I just, no, I don't know what happened to that group. Anyway, we'll just take a look at these groups that do exist. So I have an AA Salesforce. This is my Azure AD Salesforce group. I also have additional groups. Groups can be created within the console, of course. So I can add another group here. I can name the group and give it a description. I can't do too much to modify the group, though. What I want for that is actually in the My Apps portal. And the My Apps portal is the Microsoft Application Gateway, or Gallery, excuse me, not Gateway. And this will log me on to the tenant admin, which is the same global admin that I'm logged on to in here. And you can see that I have applications, and it shows some applications in here that I've been granted permissions to for SaaS applications. We're treating these as SaaS applications. I also have groups now in here as well, and it'll show me all of the groups that are available. And from here, I can manage these groups. So if I take a look at the AA Salesforce group and edit that group, you can see that I can assign a group policy. And this particular group requires, owner approval to join the group. I can also set this to be open for any user to join the group, or only the owner of this group can add members. By default, the setting, when I create it within the portal, in the Manage Windows Azure portal, the default is only the owner can add members. But I'll leave this for owner approval because we want to see that actually work. And in here would be where I would see approvals for groups that I'm an owner of. As you look at the group, you can see that the owner is shown for these groups. For groups that don't have particular settings, there's not necessarily an owner. So these are groups that were synced from my local directory, brought up, and given access here. So now what I want to do is grab a different user, and for that I'm going to grab a different browser so that we can stay separate on these. And I'll go ahead and log on as my demo user AD. And paste in the password I copied. No, this is not. See, I thought I copied the password out. It should be in my email as well, so give me just a moment to go grab that. Demo user AD, man, that's what I created. Let's go back and check that user. See what I did that caused me not to demo user AD, the man around Microsoft.com. It should be the user. So let's go back and grab that. Sign in again. Microsoft demo user AD. Yeah. Okay, don't know why it didn't take it the first time, but it needs me to update the password, of course, because that was just created. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new password, and I'll submit that. All right, and one more time. All right. So now I am back in my access panel for this user. You see that the
Okay, I'm hearing distortion on the line. Is everyone else?
Oh, it looks like I'm back. Sorry, it looks like I got dropped for a second. I apologize for that.
All right, we hear you fine now, Mark.
Okay, thanks. So here are the groups. I'm in as this demo AD user. I can select this group, and if I want to join the group, it will go ahead and tell me that a request has been sent to that user. Now I have, you may hear a bing here when my mail comes in, but I have set that domain user to have a secondary email address of my email address, so it will go ahead and email me when that request is sent. I believe I set this group to just be automatically joined. I know that's set as a request as well. Then we'll go back here and look at the approvals for this user. So you see the requests have come through. I'll get the email here in a moment, and I'll show you that when I get it. But the user can select and approve or deny those requests to join the group. I'm just going to go ahead and approve both of those and allow those to go through. So now if I go back and look at the group membership for those groups, you'll see that I now have that demo user AD in that group. I can also add additional users. So if I want to go ahead and grab that demo Reilly account, I could also let that user grab it itself, but we'll just go ahead and let that do that manually for the user. So there's different ways that we can add these users. Of course, it can be done through PowerShell as well. And here's the email that I would have received. Someone wants to join your group. If I selected to act on this request, it would open this same portal that we've seen. Now, so we've been able to bring these users up. I've got local users. I've got, I'll go ahead and add my demo user 01 as well, because I didn't see the group that got brought up from there. Now what we want to do is make sure that we can grant users access to those applications. And so back in our Azure portal, looking at the applications, you can see the various applications that are available. I can add applications to this gallery from the selection from Microsoft's gallery. I can choose to add applications that my organization is developing, so I can provide those to my users. I can also provide that to users outside my organization. I can add applications from the gallery, and just added to the application settings was the ability to publish an application that will be available outside of your network. We're really not going to touch on that today. But I do want to say, let's take a look at adding from the gallery. As I said, we're over 1,800, almost 1,900 applications. You can see a number of applications in here. Salesforce, the one we're going to play around with today. But you can see applications for business management, data services, CRM, a whole slew of applications, literally. Social applications, you saw I added in mine. I had some, I had Twitter and those applications. So I've already selected to add Salesforce to my to the application gallery, and I assign users by either assigning users or groups. I can assign individual users or groups to this management. So I'm going to take a look at the groups. We've already set up this WSAD. Salesforce is already set up for this, for Salesforce, and I'm going to choose the AA Salesforce as well, and I just simply assign that to this group. That's assigned. I've already, previously when I set up Salesforce, I already provided username and password for that Salesforce application. As you see in the dashboard, I can look at the number of sign-ins over a period. I can look at users and groups for that, as we looked at, and I can also choose to configure. And this is where I configured the single sign-on for the user, and I can also provision users through this. Salesforce is one of the small subset of applications that allow us to not only grant access to the application, but also to allow users to be provisioned for the application directly through the process. So on my tenant admin, which I didn't add to that group, so it won't show up in there. Let me go grab the other user that I had, my demo user AD. If I go back to my applications, this will refresh in a moment. It's told me that the apps have been updated. We click to refresh, and now I have access to that Salesforce application. There is some software that needs to be installed on my machine to make that, to actually manage the connection and my single sign-on for this. I should have run this ahead of time. I just didn't run this demo in my private screen, so it didn't set this up for us. This will just grant me access to Salesforce. Installed that. It's running on a different screen, so you can't really see it. And then it'll give me access to Salesforce. If I run it from here, we'll see it. We'll see it as well. So the one other user I had was my external user, and we added that external user as well. And I'll go ahead and see if I can't do this. There's just this little sign out, sign on. One of the difficulties in demoing this is these problems we have with various users logging on and off on the same machine. So it does make these demonstrations a little harder. Let me go ahead and try to do it this way. We'll sign out, sign back in using my demo Hotmail account. Right, and this is going to, this, as you see, is using my Hotmail, so it redirects me to live to log on, and I can log on. So if I'm a vendor using this application, now I'm able to access the application that I was given rights to. It might be Salesforce, might be an on-prem application. Might be any application that we're giving access to. But as this user who's come in with my live account, all of my account management is done through live. So if I need to reset my password, I reset it through live. If I need to manage that account in any other way, I can do it that way. If I brought a user in from another directory, they would be managed from that directory. My demo user 01, which is also in this in this group, so should be able to access the application. I'll go ahead and use that. We'll see at this point that my demo user 01, does realm discovery on me, realizes that it's a federated user, so it redirects me back to my federated authentication, and because I'd already signed on to that, it allowed me into the application. Maybe I didn't add this user back to it. All right, the next thing I wanted to take a look at was password reset. So we looked a little bit in the directory at configuration, and this is actually where we set AD Premium features. And one of the features here is this user password reset. I've set up a user with password reset. I've chosen to select all three types of communication for the user for password reset and set the number of contact methods required to only one. But I can set it to 2 if I choose to require both a phone call and an email to validate this user before resetting the password. I can also choose to require users to register when they sign into the access panel. I haven't done that, but it's possible to do. And that would prompt the user to configure the properties that we need to allow them to do password reset. But what I have done is gone in and set a user. So I have a password reset user, pass reset. And I have set up that user with the required attributes. So it has my email address as an alternate email address, and it has my work phone number and my home phone number, or my cell phone number. So now when I log on as that user, if I attempt to go, we can just do it straight from the portal. That's easy enough. We'll sign out here. And then to sign in again, we'll use another account, and I'll choose this pass reset account. Microsoft, Mark. And I'll choose that I cannot access my account. So the first thing it wants to do is make sure that is my user ID, and now it's going to make it very difficult for me because it's going to ask me to do a CAPTCHA, which I run about a 30% rate of getting it right on the first try. Let's see if that one's better. I'm sure you're all sitting there saying, no, no, it's that other character, not that one. So now that I'm ready to do my password reset, notice there's no one from IT involved, no call involved, no other than security questions. I can choose to text or call my phone or call my office phone or email my alternate mail. Of course, the lowest impact is to simply text my phone, but it does require that I validate my phone number. If I'd hit the number lock, that probably would have happened. Okay. And now it'll text me a code. I'll receive that code on my phone and enter my validation code in there. Oops, let it go just too long. 6, 8, 5, 8. I validate the code, and I'm able to reset my password. All I need to do here is enter the new password, complete that password, and then I'll go ahead and log on with that account. So my pass reset. You get that right. see. I don't have any subscriptions. I can go to the portal and get in there, but that's all I have there. So jump back to my my slides here. And so what we looked at was the ability to bring a user up from our on-prem directory, bring a user in from a separate directory, an external user, or create a user strictly in Azure AD and provide each of those users with access to various resources, but the one we looked at was the SaaS application where we were able to launch Salesforce for all these users. This allows us, again, the goal being to, and then we looked at the ability to provide password reset for users in the cloud. Now, currently, the password reset is only available for Azure Active Directory users, not users synced from a local directory, Windows Azure users. So you saw I used that separate pass reset because it's wholly contained in Azure AD, not an on-prem user. But in test, currently, is the ability to do password sync from Azure back to on-prem, and that will enable us to be able to provide password reset capability in the cloud for users that are hosted on-prem in Windows Server Active Directory. So at this point, I'll turn it back to Chris, and we can take a look at upcoming training sessions and answer any questions that you may have about the session today or any other Azure questions that you might like to hear about in the future.
Thanks, Mark. Great job. If anyone has any questions, I can open up the mic before we wrap things up. So I'll go ahead and do that. All right, I'm unmuting everyone. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them. I think I'm unmuting everyone. It's not. All right, well, if you can't, we can't hear anyone talk, so go ahead and ask your question in the question dialogue, and we'll address them as they come through. All right. I've got a few people typing questions.
And if you haven't heard enough of my voice, you can come to Bellevue on July 8th and
right.
catch my class.
Exactly. All right, I've got a few. All right, so the first question is, can you show me how to configure federation with Azure?
Can I show you how to configure federation with Azure?
Yes.
Oh, well, there's the federation that's accomplished is by reaching out to Azure in PowerShell and running PowerShell commands. I don't have a domain set up that's not federated. It would take a fair amount of time to get all of those different pieces put together to show it to you. I'd be happy to discuss it with you if you want to reach out to me offline.
Okay. And Ricardo, did you have a question still? Okay, Ricardo's question is it possible to have the password?
Is it possible to have the passwords?
Right, we're not following you, Ricardo. So reset in both Azure and local Active Directory.
Okay.
It's three different questions I see. Is it possible to have the password reset in both Azure and local Active Directory? I think is what he
Right. Not yet. The password reset in the cloud is only effective for the cloud. The directory synchronization with two-way sync, with the ability to sync account information from on-prem and be able to sync that password back to the from the cloud back to on-prem is in testing and is expected relatively soon in an update to directory synchronization. At that point, we expect that we will be able to not only update passwords that have been synced to the cloud, which is not capable yet, but also be able to sync passwords that have not, or update passwords that have not been synced. This is my presumption. Should let you know I'm not speaking for Microsoft and promising them. What I would expect at the first level is the passwords that are.
Oops. Okay, I may have inadvertently muted Mark while trying to unmute everyone.
Oh, so sorry about that. Did you get the answer to the question? Chris?
Yes. Yes. Ricardo just responded with yes.
Okay, great.
So we got the answer to the question. Okay, and then let's see. I think Jim asked, I think, a similar question. Jim, did that answer your question as well about password reset, function support? Okay, good. So we got to Ricardo. Rob has a question about looking forward to more SAML supported SaaS solutions. Any idea how those will roll out schedule-wise? Which again, we can't speak on behalf of Microsoft and their release schedule.
It's one of those cases I don't know, and if I did, I would be prohibited from telling you probably.
All right. Very good. Are there any other questions? Okay, very good. So we'll, I guess in closing, here's, like Mark had mentioned, there's a number of training sessions that are coming up that Oxford Computer Group will be doing. As Mark mentioned, if you didn't get enough of his voice today, he'll be teaching the FIM 2010 R2 Foundation course in the week of July 8th in Bellevue. You can see the other courses that are scheduled throughout the end of the year here. We also do custom instructor-led for clients who want something a little more specific to their environment. That would be no problem. From there, you can visit our website for more information on our training as well as to register. And then advance, Mark. Next slide. Well, thank you. I guess that's a big thing. On behalf of Oxford Computer Group, I'd like to thank you for attending. Feel free to reach out to us. You see Mark's email address here. You can reach me at chrisj@oxfordcomputergroup.com, or you could just send a message to info@oxfordcomputergroup.com, or visit our website. On our website, you get the next level of detail on what you saw today, what we do, the technologies we specialize in, the training we provide. You can get a number of customer testimonials, white papers, blogs, and an idea of our events, including the summit I mentioned earlier. We also have recordings of past webinars, and the recording for this webinar will be up there shortly. But again, that's www.oxfordcomputergroup.com. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.